So I hope everyone is having a great day today. And you know what? I did end up coming to the conclusion that Split Second is also going to be an underrated racing game. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people would agree. Now, there is something I did want to mention about this though. I do feel like to a certain extent the reason why this game and also Blur really are going to be on the underrated or maybe even like the kind of games that you're like, well, these probably didn't sell that well. I kind of feel like it's maybe because the niche that these games are in, like maybe a lot of racing game fans never tried them, or maybe they didn't want to, they didn't like how they were. I would like to know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Do you guys think that is going to play a role here on why some of these games might not be that popular? Maybe they weren't, because honestly, they were just going to be different. Maybe they released them at the wrong times. That has happened before. But I gotta admit though, playing through Split Second, I really do think this game is really entertaining. And the thing is, if you are going to be a fan of something like Blur and even Need for Speed, I feel like you would also most likely like this game as well. Now, there is going to be different mechanics in this game compared to something like Blur, like even Need for Speed or even Forza. You can kind of include all those games in, as I'm kind of including, like every racing game in that category there. But this game is going to be different in the aspect that you are going to once again have the things that kind of destroy the map, or you could destroy the other racers. You're not going to have nitrous or anything like that. You're not going to take down the racers like you would in something like Burnout. It isn't going to be like that. Instead, you are pretty much going to use the map's environment to help you win the races, which honestly I thought was a really cool feature to the game. One of my favorite things though is you can even use that to find different shortcuts and find different ways around the tracks and stuff to beat the other opponents. I thought that was very cool. But one thing I did think about when I was playing this game though is I was thinking about MotorStorm Apocalypse. And the reason for that is kind of down to like the map changing when you are racing and stuff like that. Like for example, guys, when you are going on MotorStorm Apocalypse, I will throw some footage of this in the background as well, of just the gameplay of that game, so you can see a piece of it there and stuff. But the map is going to change throughout the entire race. Now, I do understand this is going to be a tad different, and yes, if you do have a design like that, some races are probably going to be a tad repetitive, or games for that matter, and you might end up noticing that in some of these games, which I would say in Split Second, players are probably going to notice that a lot of the tracks are probably going to be very similar, or maybe there's not going to be a huge amount of them, which I would say is going to be very similar in MotorStorm Apocalypse as well. Because we all do know how the maps are going to be designed, there's probably only so much they could do with it, or how much they did end up doing. I honestly do feel like a lot of players probably would expect that though. Like, even though you might not have a lot of tracks in something like MotorStorm Apocalypse or even Split Second, you are still easily going to enjoy the game. Like, I played MotorStorm for hours. I even played this game for hours too, and I never really thought about the tracks that much, as like, you're going to be going through the tracks going, okay, well, that's going to be a shortcut. You can learn this and this. And even then, the tracks are still going to feel different, which I do give them credit on. Like, they did end up having a lot of similar races and stuff like that, or you might be racing on the same track, right? At least it is going to feel different with how it is going to be designed. You'll start learning different things about it. So I still did really genuinely enjoy it. One of my favorite things I gotta admit about Split Second, though, I kind of feel like it comes down to, once again, this game just feels different, bro. Now, I want to explain why I'm saying this. Is kind of similar to Blur. We all do know, again, guys, a lot of days, like, let's just fast forward to right now, okay? Let's not go back to 2010. Let's fast forward right now and look at some of the games we are looking at. A lot of them really are very similar. We all kind of can agree a lot of games are like copying each other. A lot of games just don't feel as they're really in their own place anymore, right? Like, a lot of them feel like they're taking something from that game or doing something from this one, or, kind of just copying each other, or maybe going after a formula like Forza because it is going to be successful, so they try to put it in that game, which I could make a separate video about that topic. It is kind of wild, but when you go back in and play something like Split Second, Blur, even some of the old Need for Speed games, like, it really does hit you and go, man, like, they really did put a lot of time into these, or at least it feels like they really did care on what they were doing. They really did focus on, okay, well, you know what, guys, we're going to make something completely different. And the thing is, they actually did do that. They weren't just focusing on trying to make a game that you'd end up seeing or like another festival racer man. Now, again, I do understand some of these games are niche and stuff. Like, not everybody's going to want to play Split Second or play like a racing game like Blur that's going to have weapons and different things like Mario Kart. I do understand that, but at the same time, though, don't you all think having a mix-up of games, though, have something like how Split Second is, would be a really fun mix? I still can't believe Disney published this game, bro. That's weird to me. But you're going to have, like, unlicensed vehicles in it. I really do think the design of the game really is going to be a solid, fun experience. I do like the fact that they had the helicopter thing in there. You also had, like, the truck thing with the barrels. I did like that. You're going to have, like, the checkpoint runs. there is going to be different things around the game. There is going to be the races and stuff like that. This really was going to be such a different racing game. Funny part is when I'm going on Reddit and just like looking at different things online, a lot of people are talking about these games again. A lot of players on Xbox have been playing this again because I think it is backwards compatible on there, I think. If not, I do believe it's going to be in the store on like the newer Xbox, so you can play it there and stuff if you want it. And with that, a lot of players are like, yo, Split Second's really fun. This game is dope. I mean, I even went out and found a PS3 copy of this game, and so far, I'm so glad I did, because I really do feel like a lot of people were talking highly of this game, and I can definitely see why that is, dude. Like, this game was just a fun overall kind of, okay, well, I'm going to jump in here. I got to get this bar up by drifting and doing different things. That way I can go take out my other opponents, and sometimes you take out yourself anyway. I have done that way too many times. I did mention that other videos. I try to hit one of them. I'd end up taking out the two other racers but myself, which was not helping anything in trying to win that race. And you really are going to have to take advantage of those in order to win, because sometimes the AI really are going to be quick and kind of insane in some places, and that way you're actually going to be faster to get better vehicles and probably be faster and do better things there. You have to deal with other things and stuff like that as well. So at least the game really is going to be a pretty dope experience for the most part. Even though I do feel like with the way this game is designed, maybe it's not for everybody, which I understand like Blur is. But I really do feel like, guys, Split Second is going to be a really good underrated racing game that I feel like even if they put it on PS5, I still think a lot of players who have never played it would probably happily buy this or even download it and give this game a shot and go, yo, this is pretty dope, bro. And what's funny, though, is if that were to happen, I feel like players that have never played this are going to be like, this game is so much different than everything else, and I feel like that was something they were aiming for with it, because, again, there's not going to be any other racing game where you're going to be able to use the environment like that, which I would say is something they were aiming for. You know, like how Blur had weapons and stuff, like that's not going to be a thing either, and they were probably aiming for the overall different feel to the game and with it not copying stuff. So I do feel like a lot of players probably would enjoy that to it. Do let me know what y'all think about this game in the comments below. Did you like Split Second? Did you ever play it? Would you love for this game to return to the new consoles? Also, would you like to see games like this return again? I do understand this game is going to be very niche. Maybe not everybody's going to be into it, but I do feel like there's still going to be a big fun factor there that I do feel like in some ways a lot of the newer games are kind of taking the... Honestly, a lot of the fun factors are not there as much. And we also can't agree that the identity of some of these games really is struggling at the moment.